My name is Susan Miller, and for most of my 54 years, I've lived a pretty ordinary life here in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a librarian, a mother to 2 grown sons. Jesus then turned the focus back to me. I have shown you this, Susan, for a reason. Humanity is so quick to judge. You see fragments of a life on a screen or in a magazine, and you write the entire story. You cast people as heroes or villains, but I see the heart. I see the late-night tears, the whispered prayers, the silent battles, the final moments of surrender. Brandon's journey was one of profound suffering, but that suffering carved a path for grace to enter. It stripped him of his pride and brought him to his knees, and on his knees, he found me. The vision of the garden faded, and I was once again enveloped in that incredible, all-knowing light, standing in the presence of Jesus. Your world is full of noise. His thoughts continued. It distracts you from what is real. The real battle is not for money or fame or who is right or wrong in a divorce. The real battle is for the soul. It is the battle against pride, against bitterness, against the refusal to forgive. Forgiveness, Susan, forgiveness of others, and forgiveness of self. That is the key that unlocks the door to this peace. Brandon finally used that key. He impressed upon me that Brandon's ex-wife, Kelly, in her quiet protection of him for the sake of their children despite their public war, was an act of grace. That her focus on their children's well-being was a reflection of the divine love that seeks to protect the innocent. He showed me that even in the midst of the world's ugliest conflicts, acts of quiet grace shine like beacons in the spiritual realm. It is not your time, Jesus said, his presence wrapping around me like a final, loving hug. You have grandchildren to hold and books to share. But you must share this story too. Not the story of your death, but the story of what is real. Tell them not to judge. Tell them that suffering can be a doorway, not just a prison. Tell them that no one is beyond redemption. Tell them that a humble, repentant heart is the most beautiful thing in my kingdom. Tell them that what matters in the end is not how you lived in the eyes of the world, but how you loved in the quiet of your own heart. With those final thoughts, I felt a gentle pull. It was like a string was attached to my soul, drawing me back, away from the light, away from the peace. The beautiful realm began to fade, and I felt a sudden, shocking cold. The vice was back around my chest, and a jolt, like a lightning strike, shot through my entire being. I gasped, a huge, ragged breath that burned my lungs. The bright, sterile lights of a hospital ceiling blinded me. I could hear beeping, frantic voices, and then my husband David's face, tear-streaked and terrified, came into focus above me. Susan! Oh, thank God! Susan, you're back! The doctors called it a miracle, a massive cardiac event, they said. They told David I was gone for several minutes, that they were about to stop resuscitation when my heart just started beating again on its own. They can't explain why there was no brain damage, no lasting effects, but I can. I know I wasn't just unconscious. I was somewhere else. I was home for a little while, lying in that hospital bed. The world felt different. The headlines on the news, the gossip, the public dramas, it all seemed so small, so insignificant. I looked at the news about Brandon Blackstock again, but this time, I didn't feel sadness. I felt a profound sense of peace. I knew the real story. I knew he was laughing in a garden, free from pain, and wrapped in the love of God. My heart no longer ached for him, but it swelled with love for his children, knowing they have a Father watching over them from a place of perfect joy. This experience changed me. It's no longer just a story I believe. It's a reality I have lived. Prayer is not a chore anymore. It's a conversation with the being who knows me and loves me completely. I look at people, strangers on the street, people in the news, and I no longer see just the surface. I see a soul on a journey, a heart with its own secret battles and silent prayers. I've come to understand that the greatest act of faith we can perform is to withhold judgment and offer love instead. To look at a complicated, messy human story and trust that God is writing a final chapter that is more beautiful and more merciful than we can possibly imagine. So now, I ask you, when you see a story like Brandon's, will you remember? Will you look past the headlines and trust in the power of repentance, the purpose of suffering, and the incredible, endless grace of a God who never, ever gives up on us? Because I promise you, what we see here is just a shadow of the truth, and the truth is love. My days are usually filled with the quiet rustle of turning pages and the sweet chaos of family dinners on Sundays. Like a lot of people, I follow the lives of celebrities, not with any deep obsession, but with a kind of casual curiosity. It's the human stories behind the headlines that always get me. And one of those stories, the one about Kelly Clarkson and her ex-husband, Brandon Blackstock, always stuck with me. Maybe because it felt so public, so messy, and ultimately so very sad. I'd followed their journey from what seemed like a fairy tale to a painful public divorce. Then came the news that he was sick, fighting cancer. And just a couple of days ago, the headline said that he had passed away. It just felt like such a tragic end to a complicated story, especially for their children. I remember sitting at my kitchen table, scrolling through the news on my phone, feeling a wave of sadness for this family I'd never met. It was a strange feeling to grieve for a stranger, but I did. That evening, I was getting ready for bed, just going through the motions of a normal day. I felt a strange flutter in my chest, but I brushed it off. I'm getting older, I told myself. These things happen. I went to the bathroom to brush my teeth, and that's when the flutter became a vice. A crushing, unbearable pressure exploded in my chest, stealing my breath and buckling my knees. I remember the cold, hard feel of the tiled floor against my cheek and the distant, muffled sound of my husband, David, calling my name. I tried to answer, to tell him something was terribly wrong, but no sound would come out. The world began to shrink, the light from the hallway dimming into a pinpoint, and then nothing. All the pain, all the pressure, all the fear, it just vanished. In one moment, I was on my bathroom floor, and in the very next, I was somewhere else entirely. It wasn't darkness, and it wasn't a tunnel of light like you read about. It was more like stepping from a stuffy, windowless room into an endless, open field on the most perfect spring day. The air, if you could call it that, hummed with a life force that was palpable. It felt like pure peace, pure joy, pure love. The anxiety I'd carried in my shoulders for years was gone. The dull ache in my knee from an old gardening injury was gone. I felt weightless. I felt whole. I was surrounded by a light that seemed to be the source of everything. It wasn't a blinding light that hurt your eyes. It was a gentle, living radiance that felt like a warm embrace. It seemed to know me, to see every hidden corner of my heart, every secret worry, every quiet failure, every little joy. And in being seen so completely, I felt a love that is impossible to describe with earthly words. It was a love that didn't ask for anything in return, a love that simply was. Then, from within that light, a presence emerged. He didn't have a distinct form like in the paintings we all know, but at the same time, I knew exactly who he was. It was a knowing that bypassed my mind and settled deep within my soul. It was Jesus. His presence was the source of the light, the source of the love, the source of the very peace I was breathing in. I felt an overwhelming sense of reverence, but not a single ounce of fear. How could you fear something so beautiful, so loving? He didn't speak with a voice that my ears could hear. His thoughts flowed directly into my own, clearer and more profound than any spoken word. Susan, he communicated, and in that one word, I felt all my years of Sunday school lessons, all my fumbling prayers, all my doubts and questions coalesce into a single, perfect moment of understanding. My child, be at peace. I have brought you here to show you that which your earthly eyes cannot see. Suddenly, the space around us shifted. It was like watching a movie, but a movie that you could feel. I saw scenes from my own life, moments of prayer, moments of kindness, and moments of judgment that I was not proud of. I saw them all not with condemnation, but with a gentle understanding. But then, he seemed to sense the question that was still lingering in my soul, the sadness I had felt just before I collapsed, the thought of Brandon Blackstock and his family. You grieve for a soul you have never met. Jesus' thought flowed into me, filled with a gentle compassion. Your heart aches for his children and for the story you believe you know. But the stories told on earth are incomplete. They are whispers in a storm. Would you like to see the truth? Would you like to see what I see? I could only respond with a feeling of overwhelming assent, a deep yearning to understand. The scene before me changed again. I was no longer seeing my own life. I was now an observer, standing invisibly in a quiet hospital room. I saw Brandon Blackstock. He looked frail, much thinner than in any of the pictures I'd seen, the battle he had fought etched onto his face. But as I looked closer, I saw something the cameras and headlines could never capture. I saw a profound peace in his eyes. He was surrounded by his family. I saw his daughter, Savannah, her hand on her pregnant belly, her other hand holding his. I saw his brother, Shelby, his face a mixture of sorrow and love. They were there, holding a vigil of love around his bed. The world saw a messy divorce, Jesus communicated to my soul. It saw anger, accusations, and legal battles. And those things were real. They were born of earthly pain and human pride. But what the world did not see was the journey of the soul that was happening beneath the surface. His illness, the 3 years of fighting cancer, was not a punishment. It was a fire of purification. In his weakness, he was forced to let go of the things he once held onto so tightly: control, reputation, anger. In the quiet moments, when the pain was great and the future was uncertain, he began to speak to me. I then witnessed something truly sacred. I saw moments from the past 3 years. I saw Brandon, alone in the dark of night, his body racked with pain, whispering prayers of repentance. They weren't eloquent or formal. They were raw, broken cries from a man stripped of everything. He asked for forgiveness, forgiveness for his part in the breakdown of his marriage, for the anger he held, for the pride that had blinded him. He prayed for his children, River and Remy, with a fierce, desperate love that brought tears to my own spectral eyes. He prayed that they would be protected, that they would understand, that they would be okay. He prayed for Kelly, not with bitterness, but with a sense of shared history and a deep regret for the pain they had both endured. I saw that in his final weeks, especially after seeing his daughter Savannah so happy and about to bring new life into the world. A profound shift had occurred. He had let go. All the bitterness had washed away, replaced by a quiet acceptance and a focus on the love that remained. The public saw a man who had lost a public battle, but God saw a son who had finally found his way home. Then the scene shifted to the moment of his passing. It was as peaceful as his family had described, but I saw so much more. As he took his final breath, it wasn't an end, it was a release. I saw his spirit, his soul, gently lift from his tired body. He wasn't alone. Two radiant beings of light, angels, were there on either side of him. They didn't pull him or force him. They simply guided him, their presence a comforting reassurance. His soul form began to change. The frailness of illness faded away, replaced by a vibrant, whole, and youthful light. The lines of worry and pain on his face were gone, replaced with a look of pure, unadulterated awe. He is not defined by his divorce or his mistakes. Jesus' voice resonated within me. He is defined by this, by his return to love, by his repentance. This is the final chapter of his earthly story, and it is the only one that matters for eternity. The hospital room faded, and I found myself in a place of breathtaking beauty. It was a garden, but unlike any on earth. The colors were more vivid. The flowers seemed to hum with their own gentle music, and the air was filled with a scent of pure joy. And there, walking through this garden, I saw him. I saw Brandon. He looked happy, truly, deeply happy. The kind of happiness that radiates from the very core of your being. He was no longer a headline or a public figure. He was just a soul, at peace. He was talking with another man, and as they turned, I recognized the kind face of his father, Brandon Blackstock, who had passed years before. They weren't just talking, they were laughing, a sound of pure, unburdened joy that echoed in the beautiful air. He seemed to feel my presence, or rather, the presence of Jesus beside me. He turned and looked in our direction, and he smiled. It wasn't a sad smile. It was a smile of gratitude, of peace. It was a smile that said, "It's okay. I'm okay. I'm more than okay. I'm home." I understood at that moment that he was watching over his children, not with sadness or regret, but with a perfect love, untangled from all the earthly complications. He was now one of their guardian angels, a pure source of love and protection for them for the rest of their lives. The devastation his children and their mother feel is real, Jesus explained, and their grief is a testament to the love that was shared. That love is not erased, but do not grieve for him. He has found a peace that his earthly life, for all its successes, could never offer. His soul is happy, he is free,